The freedoms accorded to us by the Constitution have made us prosperous. Of course, in no small part because liberty makes the U.S. a magnet for talent from around the world. James Pinkerton. The new movie Oppenheimer offers us a window into the past, into a key moment in the evolution of our national defense. And along the way, the film underscores the importance of fending off treason. The authors of the United States Constitution, steeped as they were in history, knew all about the danger a nation faced from betrayal. In particular, the Catilinarian conspiracy of the ancient Roman Republic loomed large in their minds, such that in the 18th century, Catiline became synonymous with traitor. Yet the same knowledge of history told the Americans that oftentimes in the past, mere dissent, peaceful and legitimate, had been labeled as treachery, thus easier to crush the dissenters. So Article 3, Section 3 of the Constitution carefully circumscribes the offense. It declares that treason, quote, shall consist only in levying war against the United States or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. Explaining this narrowly constructed language in the Federalist Papers, the essays aimed at encouraging the ratification of the Constitution, James Madison wrote, quote, artificial treasons have been the great engines by which violent factions have usually weakened their alternate malignity on each other, end quote. That is, bad regimes were too easily tempted to label troublemakers as traitors. Seeking to reassure Americans that their rights and liberties would be protected, Madison pledged that the Constitution enables, quote, a barrier to this peculiar danger by inserting a constitutional definition of the crime, fixing the proof necessary for conviction of it, and restraining the Congress, even in punishing it, from extending the consequences of guilt beyond the person of its author, end quote. In other words, no overbroad definition of treason, and no collective punishment, no reigns of terror for the acts of an individual. The Constitution's sense of moderation and due process informs the new movie about J. Robert Oppenheimer, director of the laboratory at Los Alamos, New Mexico, which developed the atomic bomb during World War II. Oppenheimer was a scientific genius blessed with, in addition, great skills of organization and leadership. And he was also at least something of a communist. Thus the paradox in the film, Oppenheimer was needed for national defense, and he was also a potential security threat. Beyond any reasonable doubt, the atomic bomb has been vital to defending America and protecting American lives. During World War II, there was reason to believe that Nazi Germany was building an atomic weapon, and we had to have the bomb before Hitler. And even after that satanic regime was crushed, the other enemy, Japan, was still fighting, still killing Americans. The Okinawa campaign of April-June 1945 led to the death of some 12,500 GIs, as well as more than 110,000 Japanese. Yet despite these terrible defeats, Japan showed no inclination to give up its hopeless fight until the U.S. used atomic bombs in August 1945. The carnage of Hiroshima and Nagasaki notwithstanding, Japan's surrender saved hundreds of thousands of American lives and many millions of Japanese lives. To illustrate the depths of the challenge the U.S. faced in 1946, Carl Compton, president of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, reported on his conversation with a Japanese military officer who suggested that were it not for the intervening surrender, every Japanese would have died combating Americans. Quote, we would have kept on fighting until all Japanese were killed, but we would not have been defeated, end quote, the officer told Compton. The population of Japan at the time was 77 million. So Oppenheimer was a hero of our national defense, just as Americans were heroes for mobilizing the resources needed to build the bomb. The Manhattan Project employed a total of 610,000 Americans. And some of those Americans were traitors, spies for the Soviet Union. Only after World War II, with the onset of the Cold War against the Soviets, did we discover the espionage of such figures as Klaus Fuchs, David Greenglass, and Ted Hall. All had worked at Los Alamos under Oppenheimer. Fuchs and Greenglass were tried, convicted, and imprisoned, but in both cases for less than a decade. Fuchs served his time in Britain. As for Hall, he was stripped of his security clearance but allowed to continue his career as a physicist. This pattern of treachery, of course, reflected on Oppenheimer himself. In 1954, after a quasi-judicial proceeding lasting 2 months, complete with witnesses to be examined and cross-examined by lawyers, Oppenheimer was stripped of his security clearance. Yet even so, he was free to live his life. He wrote a book, lectured widely, toured the world, although not the USSR or any other communist country, and even received an award from President Lyndon Johnson in 1963. He died in 1967. So we can see the Constitution's carefully crafted words about treason and the overall tone of restraint applied to the charge prevented any of these convicts and suspects from drastic punishments. Other spies of that era were treated more harshly. The freedoms accorded to us by the Constitution have made us prosperous, of course, in no small part because liberty makes the U.S. a magnet for talent from around the world. 4 of the top Manhattan Project scientists were born in Hungary, and none of them were spies. Those strengths give us the capacity to build wonder weapons such as the atomic bomb. And yet that same freedom makes it harder for us to keep our secrets. So this is our republic, if we can keep it. This essay was written by James P. Pinkerton. James P. Pinkerton is a senior fellow at the America First Policy Institute. He served as White House domestic policy staff for Presidents Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush, senior advisor to the 2008 Mike Huckabee presidential campaign. I am Janine Turner, founder of Constituting America. I and Kathy Gillespie, Constituting America's CEO, thank you for joining us for our 13th annual 90-day study. Our annual studies are entitled 90 plus 90 equals 180. History holds the key to the future because history does hold the key to the future, or as Shakespeare said, the past is prologue. Join us tomorrow. Right back here, same bat channel, same bat time for those of you who are as old as I and watched Batman, the TV show. Don't forget to check out our essays on American exceptionalism. It's our study from last year. If you go to the constitutingamerica.org and scroll down, you'll see the studies and you'll see a little red button that says American Exceptionalism Study. Really good, so that we have 90 days of 90 tools in our toolbox so that we can have a really good civil civic conversation about why America is exceptional. Have a great day. We thank Amanda Hughes for championing these wonderful studies and for Bobby Rodriguez for editing these wonderful essays and sending them out there into the universe. Have a wonderful day.